Good morning and welcome to the third session of season 2 of our live chat session by Outdoor Wilderness and Learning, all for short. Our topic for the day is artificial intelligence and how it's changing the world, the effects and scope of AI in different industries and jobs. And my name is Abhik Dutta and I'm the director of OWL and your host for the day. So artificial intelligence technologies and the expanding capabilities of handling and processing huge volumes of data is driving this major technological revolution that we are experiencing in our lives today. All of this data and the ability to automatically make sense of it is creating unprecedented opportunities for improvement across health, lifestyle, transportation, education, and practically every facet of our activities every day. COVID-19 has, of course, accelerated the digitization of customer interactions by several years. The benefits of digitization has also helped us immensely during the pandemic. But what more is AI capable of doing for us to make it easier for us to do business and lead a better life? What about the adverse impacts of digitization? Is it going to take away jobs? Is its benefit going to be felt by the vast majority of the marginalized sections in our society? Or is it going to snoop into our lives without us knowing about it, getting our kids more addicted to the screen and making them less social? Well, we are going to discuss all of this and more in today's freewheeling chat with Sauvik Banerjjee, the CTO of Tata Digital, one of only 6 persons in the world and the only person of Indian origin to have worked on all global omni-channel platforms. He is an entrepreneur twice over who created and sold 2 tech companies in the UK, a Tech Futurist with over 150 implementations running across the globe. He's the architect of Reliance JIO and TataCLiQ, a TEDx speaker, author, and MIT startup hub mentor. I could literally go on and on. And just to prove a point that he's not all work and no play, he represented Bengal in Ranji under Sourav Ganguly and played cricket for the under-19 India team. He also played county cricket in Scotland. We're going to talk about all of this on today's chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely excited to welcome my dear friend, Sauvik Banerjjee, on our OWL chat today. Good morning, Sauvik, and welcome to our show. I hope I didn't wake you up too early today on a Saturday morning.
No, this is one of the good Saturdays. And lovely speaking to you, Abhik. Thank you for that warm welcome and those kind words. I think it's a good Saturday when a conversation with you is happening on AI and the abilities of technology. So absolute pleasure to be around.
Thank you, Sauvik. But honestly, I'm so happy that we could bring you on board for this session today because I've been meaning to talk to you for a very long time. But like all the conversations with you, we need to get cricket out of the way first. Okay, so I'll start with cricket. So tell us about how you ended up playing cricket for Bengal under Sourav Ganguly and later went on to play professional cricket in Scotland. That's what we've discussed a lot of times about all that. But I really want to know a little more about that.
So life was a very normal middle-class family. The reason for cricket was on my maternal side. There were cricketers. And my mother being one of the members of the first Bengal's Ranji Trophy squad. Then she became a broadcaster, entrepreneur. Cricket was in the DNA on my maternal side. Father, on the other hand, was an educationist, a scientist, researcher. So the story goes that when my sister and I were being conceived, and mom was pregnant with both of us, she still never missed a test match at the Eden Gardens all 5 days, to the extent that the peripheral crowd used to say, ma'am, you're still come today. You don't look good. Why don't you go home? And cricket was brutal. We watched cricket. Then I had the opportunity at a very young age to play Mohalla and para cricket. That went to coaching under 13s, 16s. And I was a left-hand batsman and somewhat of a bowler. And as I grew, I'm 6'3.5", 4". I became broad built. So my natural abilities started coming through. So by the time I was in class 7 to 9 to 10, I had a flair for throwing the bat and throwing the ball and doing all sorts of things. So then Bengal under 16 is a very, very important hurdle in a cricketer's life in any state cricket. organically started playing well. That came to under-19, selection of the under-19s, India camp, a few games. And then club cricket in Bengal was very big. And that's how you pivot to playing Ranji Trophy cricket. I played for Rajasthan Club, Mohun Bagan Club, Aryans Club, and club cricket, barring football, used to be obsession in Bengal. And it still is. Club cricket is huge in Bengal.
Yes.
And bulk of the country, club cricket produces a lot of cricketers.
True.
Started going to England to play actually professional cricket, club cricket primarily, Premier club cricket, some minor county seconds.
So which club did you play for in England? When you were in Scotland, which club did you play?
When I was traveling for the first time, I got hooked and got the opportunity to be a replacement professional for Inverurie Cricket Club, which was part of the Aberdeenshire. And Inverurie is Scotland's northeast part, where human habitat finishes off, actually.
Yes.
Scotland's got a lot of cricket, unlike people think about it. And then I got hooked onto Scotland, replaced Heath Davis, who was injured, and he was an international test star for New Zealand, and played a few games that year, created a fantastic set of friends. And I kept on going to Scotland, and they kept on asking me to come. And cricket was April end till September end. I used to go and coach in the youngsters in the schools during the week, do all sorts of odd jobs and play cricket on a Wednesday evening and a Saturday and a Sunday, and look after the ground, mow the ground. And that's how my culture of multicultural people collaborate, very different sorts of people, what the Scots are and the English are. And then every year I used to come back to Kolkata and keep on playing club cricket. And that time period between 1993-4 and 1999-2000, where I was shuttling backwards and forwards between England, and I had kind of made a temporary home in England. Of course, but, finally...
So it was almost, how many years were you there during that stint while you were playing cricket?
If you ask me, I started being in England 6 months a year from 1994, 95. And in 1999, 2000 onwards, I never came back. I had finished my studies, then did my migration.
So you were parallelly you were studying as well while you were playing cricket at a very good level, at a professional level, and you were also studying for probably your Ph.D. at the time. Is that true?
Much later.
Okay.
But I was studying. I was Xavier's grad, and then I went on to do my migrational masters. I had decided and had a chat with my dad, in fact, with some of the leading cricketing stars who were dear friends, that what realistically is an opportunity, and there were no IPLs in those days.
Yes.
There was no money in cricket. I mean, I remember playing Ranji Trophy and I used to get 550 rupees. A Wills Trophy playing for Bengal against the likes of Doda Ganesh, Srinath, Sunil Joshi against Karnataka. That's maximum amount of money. We used to get about 1,500 rupees. And you can't make a career out of cricket in those days. Because I was done that time, my father's side of the thing, and luckily I was an okay student, and that played a part. Alternative was get a cricketing sports quota job, and then move on with life. It wasn't going to be that. I was very greedy to make an impact, and I had fallen in love with tech. My germination of technology had already started. I was already learning Sun Micro systems. I was learning Java, and I didn't have a computer science background. So that was the migration I did in UK. And over a period of time, then I applied for my research. That went on. And at that point in time, while I was doing my research, I floated my .com in the northeast of England. I was not in Scotland. That time I was in the northeast of England, around Newcastle, Durham area.
So that was the first of the business that you started, right? Because I believe you made you created two companies and you sold both the startups while you were doing this.
First one was a very successful one. First one was called Fidos, and it was online music back catalog at the .com of those times. And we had taken a major punt. Napster on the other side of the world was evangelizing free music downloads. And we were here, a 7-member organization trying to sell LPs and mini discs and cassettes and CDs online for back catalog, not Chartbuster, billboards. So from the Roy Orbison era till what is now Chartbusters is what our catalog was. And that organization got bought by Music Stack, which is a very big organization. And then I formed another company where I started building barcode scanners that eventually I...
Sorry, just to take a step back. So you made this, the company, while playing cricket in Scotland. Is that parallelly this was going on?
Cricket. That time I was playing cricket in northeast of England. For Premier Club cricket in northeast of England.
And parallelly your business was running.
And research I was doing research, was teaching in University of Sunderland, Durham, University of Northumbria. I have a weird UK career. From Scotland, I came down a little to Yorkshire, Newcastle upon Tyne, then in Yorkshire, then to London. London was my last large thing. So I came from the north to the south. Every stint was a few years.
Okay, so let's also understand why you got into cricket and also into the kind of education that you eventually had. So I know that your father was a professor in applied physics and quantum mechanics, while your mother, as you mentioned, was an entrepreneur, a professional sportswoman. But it's kind of uncanny how you've combined the best of both your parents. So was there any kind of pressure as you grew up to excel in both sports and studies? And what came to you naturally? Was it cricket or was it NLP? We'll talk about it a little later.
Very normal middle-class family, father being a professor. But the conversations were very different on the dinner table. The conversations were how JC Bose's 5G frequency was not given to him and given to Marconi on the one hand, while why Garfield Sobers was the greatest all-rounder of all times. So weird conversations. So the conversations went from Tagore to Newton and from technology, science to literature and cricket, and why Keith Miller's Australian side and why Mike Brearley was the greatest captain. So it used to oscillate from one end of the spectrum to the other. And probably that's why, from a very young age, if you are under conversations of global scientific achievers, scientists, and sports people, and not only cricket. My mom was part of the Mohan Bagan membership. She used to watch football. She used to voraciously read. So the oscillation probably had left an imprint. And when I grew and became and consciously realized what my strengths were, and when you're by yourself in an alien country, you kind of get to know yourself a lot more, which kind of complete different alien environment, right? You're from the south of Calcutta to the northeast of Scotland. Culture is different, way of life is different, food is different, communication is different, language and words are different. But what you have in yourself is what your value system is. What was your value system? Good value systems handed over to you by your parents and grandpas and grandmoms. But you start building a belief system of, what are you? What do you believe? And I believe that technology is the way forward. And sports mindset brings you collaboration. Sports gives you decision-making quickly. Sports allows you to take risks. So these very strong belief and value systems started building my DNA. As a result, it was whatever I did was with those core set of tenets I built in my life.
Wonderful. So, Souvik, what we'll do is we are going to come back to a little more of this towards the end of the chat. How the chat will, the way I just want to talk about this is we will talk a little about AI, etc., because everyone's probably wanting to hear from you. You're a tech guru. So people want to hear that from you. But I really want to get into that mind of a sports person. I want to know a little more about how you kind of juxtaposed two parallel, shall I say, professions at the same time. So we'll get to a little more of that. Meanwhile, viewers, please feel free to post your questions on YouTube because Souvik will be happy to take them up later at the end of the show. Souvik, one more thing now. We are now going to get into a little bit of the digitization of India, etc. So 6 years ago, officially India launched Digital India. And at that time, 19% of the population was connected to the internet. And we had a mere 15% access to mobiles at that time. But 6 years on, where do we stand today vis-a-vis the goals that were set out by the government 6 years ago?
See, let me give you some data, which will help you quantify my thought as well. Today, as we build internet ecosystems, we are living with about just over 1 billion smartphone devices across the country.
Okay.
Does that mean, do we have 1 billion people having access to internet? The answer is no. There are pockets of India which are still devoid of radio frequency, internet from the air. Has broadband penetrated across India? The answer is it's a journey. 6 years back, yes, it was 19%, but today, about 600 million consumers of India do use the internet, out of which about 450 million Indians are using internet for listening music, commerce, banking, shopping, viewing. But it's still 450 million. There's another 75% who are, if India is 1.4 billion today, roughly, they're still not using internet. 450 million is far bigger than what is the population of US or Europe, Western Europe, right?
Yes.
19% obviously has moved on. And I would say, taking my UK experience, which is a country like the size of Maharashtra, that took about 5 to 7 years to have complete broadband penetration across from the mountains to the coasts. India's tier 1 and tier 2 are internet savvy, and broadband and radio frequency has reached. But India's tier 3 and 10,000 plus villages and X 100 towns are still on the process. See, it's easier for a broadband and a telco to put a tower or an optical fiber under the soil. It's easier when the clutter is less. It's very tough to do it in a city like Mumbai or Bangalore.
Or even Calcutta.
But it's much easier to do it in the villages of Bengal, or in the villages of Marathwada or Maharashtra, or in the villages of Kerala, because the land is devoid of human population, lesser congested. I think another 5 years, 2025 is the goal by the telecom providers, where they are intending, and a lot of small hyper-local players are coming in, who are taking the franchise of the optical fiber, will be a lot more. It will cross the 60 to 70% barrier. By 2030, India is a subcontinent. It is, the word continent is used for India as well. India will be up and running. But I have a feeling the radio frequency of the telcos through the smartphone and people like the providers who are trying to boom the internet across various large conglomerates will have a major shot at this. Then comes the adoption and the usability, which is how people use it, and the device's adoptability, customer acquisition of what a device costs for a normal, humble, privileged middle-class family in tier 3, tier 4. Those are different problems. But yes, digitization or internet penetration is step 1. Then, of course, comes the rest.
But what we have seen, Souvik, over the last, I think, 17, 18 months, COVID-19 has really accelerated the digitization of customer interaction by several years. I mean, most of the companies that are talking about it are saying that, yes, they've probably gone ahead 4 years, this entire COVID. That's the kind of speed that COVID has brought into their system. We have all seen the benefits of it. But what about, what more is there for AI to do now to make it easier for us to do business and to live a better life? So what more do you see happening over the next 6 months to a year in this particular field?
See, let me define AI first, because just to break the myth around AI, right? Artificial intelligence has been around for 50 to 650 plus years now. origins of artificial intelligence was very simple. A set of scientists took the imprint of our left and right brains and put it on a paper and were trying to build the neural models, because our brains operate through a set of neurons talking to each other. And they tried to decode how a human brain works. That was origin. Then they plotted it on a mathematical model. Then mathematical model then progressed and they put it on a physical robot. That was the origination of AI. AI's top three objectives world over is projection, prediction, prudence. Prudence is very important. So the three P's, and some people like us who are ethical usage and evangelists of AI always believe in three core tenets. When it comes to projection, AI cannot work without data. You need a lot of data for artificial intelligence algorithms, robots, .com robots, or a physical robot for them to learn. So more data, more they learn. But are we in a Cybertron Terminator era? No. Decades away from that. Because AI is still controlled by humans of what you feed. They have the ability to learn, but it is as much as the origination idea was, if you throw a little puppy in a pool of water, will you teach them to swim? No, the puppy learns to swim the first time he or she is in water. A little baby, 2-year-old baby, or a 1.5-year-old baby, or a 9-month-old baby, or a 7-month-old baby. Sometimes you see, you hold her or his hand, how do they know how to walk? We don't teach them how to walk. They know. The puppy knows, because the adaptability of the human brain is phenomenal. So neural consciousness allows us to adapt. AI is built on that framework. It will adapt, but it needs a lot. Humans are the most intelligent species this planet has ever seen, and arguably will remain. AI is an instrument, an augmentation instrument, and you can make the smartest of robots, but we will be never close enough to what a human brain can think. The creativity, you can't make an AI offering think and invent. They can enhance. So the principles I come back to, prudence is very important. What data you feed an AI algo, or a physical bot, or a software bot, it has immense potential to give insights to doctors, industrialists. Take 2 examples. If a plant line is completely AI enabled, when the plant requires a downtime, whether it's a Tuesday night, or if a doctor's machinery in OT requires the precision on the laser to be taken a backseat and learn what the data has got learned for 200 surgeries, AI can say to the laser robot that your needle movement has to be a little bit more precise, and it will auto-rectify it so that the surgery is quicker. It can do those enhancements. In the Google car, right? Constantly Google is learning how to navigate. It's easy to navigate in Zurich. How do you navigate in Andheri East Military Road? Completely it will fail with the same algo. But if you put the Indian context into that capability, it will learn. It will learn to stop in a signal where everybody is going. It will be safe. So it has the ability, phenomenal ability to learn through continuous data consumption. And data is getting generated. Every time you take a lift, data gets generated. Every time you drive a smart car, data gets generated. Every time an electricity consumption in a tower is happening, data gets generated. Data is structured and unstructured. AI can take all of it. the old world, without AI, we were devoid of this whole opportunity space. So AI has a lot of benefit. There's a lot of fear mongering going on AI, but we can dissect that in the next few minutes.
Sure. So benefits are clearly visible. It's there for everyone to see. But also there are the adverse effects of digitization, and there is a fear that the first fear is, of course, that it's going to take away jobs. So
Correct.
How true is that? What kind of jobs do you think are going to be taken away? And the second point is that is it benefiting in India, in a country like India, is it benefiting the marginalized sections of the society, or it's only benefiting the companies and the educated lot of Indians?
So there is there are two different worlds of views on this. I'll first share the two world views. One is AI is going to automate everything and take away a lot of blue collar jobs. One world view. The other world view is, which I kind of a little bent towards, when the mobile smartphone got invented, thanks to Apple, thanks to Samsung, now the Chinese handset manufacturers, thanks to Google inventing Android, Apple making iOS one of the smartest operating systems in the world, people thought smartphones will take away the entire telecom industry's job sector. On the contrary, we saw newer jobs got created, and we upskilled and trained people to deal with the smartphone world. Yes, a lot of old world rotary phone telecommunications worldly jobs got redundant, but the same individual got upskilled, cross-trained to be part of the future of telecommunication with the invention of smartphones. See, AI is a capability. AI will be there in all walks of life: health, customer service, sports, dot-coms, manufacturing, aviation, every sphere. AI is a horizontal. I believe in a country like India, and I will go with my leadership's thought, is upskilling and new skills. To implement and adopt AI is a whole new world of millions of jobs awaiting to basically brew. That's going to happen because when you do changes in core operating models of businesses or walks of life, we adapt as human beings and we upskill ourselves. I mean, in the COVID era, we know people who would have known that entire schooling can happen. And firstly, the teachers were hesitant. And the communication platforms like Cisco's and the Zooms and the Teams of the world, they adapted. So your work, your logins, your prompts can all become part of the communication. And now, after 18 months of schooling, people are okay. People are okay doing digital schooling. People are okay listening and ordering groceries who are sitting on the fence. So AI will not only help in helping crystallize, but overall digitization also will help AI's adoption. Yes, there's a fair amount of downside if it goes into the hands of the wrong individuals with the wrong intent. I use the word intent, but so can we do with technology with the wrong intent as well,
Abhik. Yeah, so you talked about Chinese handset manufacturers, and you were also in terms of, I mean, when the topic went there, there is also enough, I've been reading some articles where they're worried about the Chinese handset manufacturers coming in and snooping happening through that. So, so is that something which is only for the movies, or is it something that you see that it's a possibility, it's a real threat as far as India is concerned, or the rest of the world is concerned?
No, it's true. It's true. It's nothing, there's nothing to hide about it. See, let me just decode this whole thought process. There are two operating systems in the world, and there are some fringe operating systems. One is the world of Apple, which is iOS. And then there is the world of Google, which is Android. And Android is on all sorts of handsets, primarily. India has got 90+% of Android usage. Many Chinese smartphone users are there. Many Chinese handset manufacturers are there. See, we all know, and it's a public knowledge, that Google Sundar had to go in front of the Senate and do the hearing in the inquiry that Google is trying to snoop. It's public know-how. Facebook was brought in terms of unethical practices, and they had to face Senate query. See, it is very easy. What is Amazon, Alexa, or Google Home doing? They're constantly listening. In a very positive way, they're listening to your food preferences, travel preferences, holiday preferences. That's how you get to see remarketing ads. If you've clicked a speaker on some.com on a browser, you're remarketed continuously, and you freak out saying that, why are they, how could they figure it out? You go to, that's normal. That's just marketing tools. We users also have a bigger problem. We never read the TNC. We do click, 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 click. Just takes a few minutes to read the TNC. We never read the TNC. And we complain about snooping. We are allowing the handset manufacturers and the operating system owners to see in the new iOS, you see there's a very interesting, download a new app, they'll ask you, does the app allow you to track while you're using the app? Never allow you, or you allow. That's not there in the Android world. They're coming up with it. See, privacy is a very important part. Snooping is a tech piece. And when I say snooping, I am only able to basically hear your voice and hear your thumb movement on the app, through which I can figure out what are you clicking, what are you putting a voice question on. That's technology. We have got it into our homes. That's the same tech which is there in operating systems. Yes, everybody is listening. Everybody is listening, but the user has to be conscious. I can't be a dumb user and give every possible right to everybody. I have to educate myself a little bit. I have to be conscious about my privacy laws. I have to be conscious about my data sharing laws. They are taking consent, either implicit or explicit. They are doing it legally. But as a user, chalta hai attitude works in India. In the US, nobody allows you to do that. Formally, you take a consent and it will allow you to listen to your thoughts, listen to your click behavior. The Southeast of Asia is learning. Marketeers are using it with implicit and explicit consent. But the consciousness of Indians and Southeast Asians have to be a little bit more. What I think about my data, my privacy, I can easily control it. See, the tech, if I give, we can make unbelievable things happen. But the snooping is also a part of it. It has got a lot of positives. I can be given an n equal to 1 personalization so that I am not lost in the plethora of offerings I want, wastage of time, convenience. But the user has to be very, very conscious. We are getting trained. We are getting aware. We are not there yet. And hence the utilization is happening through those handsets. But I think strict usage and privacy laws are kicking in.
But Souvik, you mentioned that, the TNC rules, we don't check it. Some of us do, some of us don't. But imagine the vast majority of Indians, let's say my mother, for example, or whoever at a particular age group, they're still using smartphones. They know nothing about TNC. They will just look at something, click on it, and move on. And so the vast majority of Indians will never know this. So is there any way that a committee or something can be set up by the government which straight away says, listen, we will monitor this and we will ensure that you only get what is, we have figured it out for you. So here it is.
And the handset manufacturers have to take ownership. The operating system owners have to take ownership. So in the global level, I'm part of that. Springer's ethical usage of AI
Yeah, I want
committee.
to talk about that as well. Yes.
Yeah, and in India's IT and broadcasting ministry is extremely conscious. Do you remember the personal data privacy bill, the PDPB bill?
Very graft. So
PDPB
lovely.
bill, which is
Finally to get on a
Sorry, just give me a moment.
fantastic. Tell me.
I think Alfia is not on.
I'm off to Eastern Himachal.
Okay, I think.
Sorry, yeah. So that was a
No
little
worries,
bit
no
of
worries.
snooping
Let's move on.
happening. Yeah. Okay. So then let's continue.
So IT and Broadcasting Ministry firstly has constructed the PDPB bill, which will be strict, strong enough on consents. And the manufacturing providers have been given that guidance. It is going to get stricter and stricter because my aunt or your mom has to be protected. And ownership and accountability cannot be always customer acquisition by whether it's a .com or a internet company or a manufacturing company. Yes, we will still be able to do great recommendations, still be able to do great personalization, but with the ethical usage of it. I think the government is taking good steps. Globally, people are thinking about it. Once the thought comes in, then a policy comes in, then the implementation comes in. We are in that thought and policy, that level. Execution is just about to happen. I think we were going to roll out the PDPP bill in India, to be honest, before COVID hit us. And when normalcy prevails, we're going to see leapfrogs of movement in the policy. It has to be done. There is no two ways about it.
So, Souvik, you did mention about the Springer thing. So, I believe that you're the only Indian outside NATO countries in the Committee of Global Ethics and Usage of AI, which is powered by Springer. So, can you tell us a little more about the role of this ethics committee and what is the charter that you've undertaken?
See, Springer is one of the biggest publications and journals and research. Professor John McIntyre evangelized it. He was one of my director of studies. And John said that, be part of it, give us guidance, if possible, write certain journals, review, because the policies get met by the political analysts who are part of this, some senators who are part of this, some great parliamentarians who are part of this, some writers, journalists who are part of this at a global level. And so if we start putting the voice across with the policy bodies, what it will do is it will allow the great tech companies, consumer internet ecosystem companies to think what we should do and what we shouldn't. You cannot have the biggest of the tech giants who are part of our world be called up by Senate hearings. That is unacceptable. They have brought tremendous value. Facebook, Google, they need to be governed. And that governance has commenced. Everybody's eye open when Sundar Pichai and Mark Zuckerberg went in front of the US Senate and tried to defend themselves. And they did a great job in defending their own tech companies, but that shouldn't become a recurrence. So a set of guidelines have to be put in place, and guidelines become policies in various industries, and then they get adopted and executed. First steps have happened. Also security. Security is a very big, security and hacking. We hear about constant breaches. That's extremely important to be looked after, and they're kind of joined in the hip. Data and privacy and security are all joined in the hip. They can't remain in isolation. We know about the dark web. We know about the war happening between countries. I mean, Abhik, it's scary enough that the world is trying to listen to what we are doing. But the extremes are also there. Today, everything is on technology, a water server to an electricity server to a gas server. I can literally bring down, if penetrated, bring down an electricity server and create a blackout and create anarchy. So the war between countries or the conflicts between countries will not be on the foot. It will be on the internet. It will be of who's and who trying to take and break down their technology infrastructure. That's the war which is started. And that's the war we have to all as Indians, as technology community have to be conscious about. It's scary, but it can be resolved with dialogue, but cannot be exposed for anyone and everyone, anyone and everything.
So that was a scary picture that you kind of painted. And one of my follow-up questions to that is, so we were discussing things about the bad robot and the good robot. So what is it? Is that a concept we should be worried about when it comes to something that is a bad robot as compared to a good? Can you just kind of expand on it?
I am a big fan of an organization called Boston Dynamics, which was acquired by Google. And there are many robotic organizations. There's an organization who are building robotic rovers to put it on moon, and SpaceX is building rovers to navigate Mars, and they are all robots as well. A good robot is where you train to make life efficient. Boston Dynamics is doing that. But a bad robot is if you train that robot to do unethical things. It's still a machine. You're putting consciousness of 1 millionth percentile of consciousness into that robot and asking that robot to do navigation capabilities, execution things on a day-to-day life, like in a warehouse, stack up the boxes. But if I let the robot learn how to stack up the boxes, I can let the robot learn how to navigate and create a complete conundrum. As I said, you make the AI learn. Intent of a human being becomes far more important when you're dealing with a robot, what you're impregnating that robot with. We control them. We will keep controlling them. We need to be validated. We need to be evaluated. We need to be audited. People who are playing around with so much of deep tech. There's no harm in it. We do tax audits every year. We should do robotic audits.
Robotic audits.
Absolutely. We should do AI audits. Absolutely. Every year, quarterly, if not twice a year, robotic audits, AI audits. There's no harm. If you are ethical and if your objective is to bring value to your customers and to human beings, why would you be shy of audits? We're not shy about our tax audits. We all do it. We all pay. We're all good citizens paying tax. Every organization. Auditing evaluation is going to become very important in AI and robotics. That's how we control things from going out of hand. Those are getting executed in large-scale tech organizations as well.
Souvik, your name is kind of becoming synonymous with the SuperApp. Okay, so you Google SuperApp in India and your name comes up over there. So what is it you're working on? And how big is this SuperApp that you're working on?
It's a Tata Group dream, to be honest, bringing the Tata ecosystem together. And India hasn't actually had a SuperApp yet. If you genuinely ask me, there are some commerce giants, and there are some great organizations who in the world has cracked the SuperApp ecosystem. Example, China, WeChat, true SuperApp. Example in Southeast Asia, Lazada, Gojek, a true SuperApp. It's a place where you can do anything and everything. And whatever is disclosed in the media, I'll let the surprise be as beautiful of what we are working for the last 2 years. But just to give you an overview, it will be to allow the Indian customer to do anything and everything, of course, with the Tata ecosystem. And then, of course, we'll do something more and more. A SuperApp is different than a .com e-commerce retail marketplace. Let me make that absolutely clear. And there are many things we will be doing. There are many offerings we will be bringing. And it's not easy to build a SuperApp in 3 months or 6 months and take an MVP to a market. It takes that amount of time. But we are almost near completion, and hopefully we'll
So when is the
surprise
launch,
country.
Souvik? When is the launch?
I won't be able to give you the date, but what I'll do is, it's not in weeks anymore. It's not in months anymore. It's in weeks.
Oh, lovely.
Towards the end of the year, we will do a pilot, and we want to test the tech, the offering with a small pilot, and then we will go national very shortly. But we're almost complete. The readiness is what we're working on right now. Launch preparedness is what we're doing, and soon there'll be leadership will speak to the country. But we're all excited to surprise and give this to the country and take the feedback and improve and work on it.
So once your work on this super app is over, whenever it is, let's say a month or two down the line. So what's the next big thing that you want to work on?
See, I want to work on so many things that the list keeps growing and growing. But one thing which I really want to work is the ability to make data supremely intelligent, but the ownership is to millions of customers. So I can do whatever with my data. I can do whatever with my personalization across .coms and apps. It's still early brewing. And the other piece which I am extremely excited about, I read, I research, I want to work on the brain computing interface part. After the AI wave becomes an autopilot, brain computing interface is going to become something unbelievably big. Still embryonic days, but there are countries who have started to work, including India. BCI is something which excites me. I don't know what the manifestation of my work will be, but definitely I want to work on BCI. And I want to write more. Not getting enough time.
Souvik, cricket and NLP, on which you have done your Ph.D., which is natural language processing, are two parallel universes. So what lessons have you kind of applied from one to the other? Or has there been some kind of a learning that you've got from one that you've applied to the other?
I'll elevate that. Let's say cricket and technology. NLP is a very one part and subset of AI.
Sure.
Let's say cricket and technology. I don't have an MBA, more importantly. And I never wanted to have one. My MBA is my cricket. I learned conflict management. I learned leadership. I learned man management, negotiation. I learned mentoring youngsters. I learned team collaboration. I learned risk taking. I learned, more importantly, how to handle success. I learned how to handle the biggest thing which sports teaches you is the ability to fail fast. In sports, we lose every day or we win. But in sports, next morning, you're going to go and play and compete again. So losing becomes a part of your habit. And in technology, failing fast and making things better is a DNA of our life. Also, it's extremely important to cope up with failure and live with it as if the next morning you can win over again. Technology is a continuous win and fail mode, like sports. This obsession to winning everything in life. I was actually a beautiful thought I had. So I saw in a WhatsApp video by a gentleman, I can't remember the name. And I was contextualizing and mapping it to sports and my life. And I said, yeah, I can deal with failure right, left, and center compared to a lot of other folks. This obsession for winning gets brewed and neutralized if you've played any kind of team sport.
Okay, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the formal part of the discussion. I mean, if you can call it formal. But at this point, Souvik, what we do is we generally take in some audience questions. And we have a few of them. So one of them that has come in is, AI use has come into every business, extensively into the travel industry as well. A lot of the big hotel chains, airlines have been using it. Do you think there is a bigger opportunity in this?
Yes. See, you have to understand, every hotel or airline is in aggregated platforms. Travel and hotel industry has invented something phenomenal. It's called the meta search. Example Ixigo, example Skyscanner, where your search is made intelligent and more intelligent based on your customer behavior to your clickstream behavior to your thumb behavior. How I make my experience of not booking a ticket or not reserving a room, but my experience overall, and Abhik, you are part of the industry, how do I make AI relevant to Souvik's preference and choices, who loves mountains and Himalayas? And I get that offering while he or she is booking the flights and hotels. The personalization use cases of travel and hospitality is extremely immense. And the meta search engines are going to evangelize and champion it. And of course, it is going to come to aggregators and, of course, the organizations themselves. I would suggest let the AI be to the aggregators and the meta search champions. You provide inventory of room and routes and seats, and collaborate and ensure the personalization doesn't become hyper personalization. There's a balance. But travel and hospitality will see a pivot using personalization part of AI.
A question from Salocare. We are building a diagnostic center using AI ML tech for cricket players, beginners and aspirants who want to make their practice more efficient and in the right direction so as to achieve excellence. What are your thoughts on sports edutech space?
So there's some great organizations doing great work on sports tech. There is nothing called ML. Let me just break that myth. It's a rubbish word people use. There's nothing called machine learning. What can you make a TV learn? It's the operating system within a smart TV. Let's break that thought of machine learning into device learning. Your device can learn. Your desktop can learn. Your browser can learn. Your operating system in your mobile phone can learn. Your smart TV having Android operating system can learn. Your plant line machinery can learn. Now coming to sports. What can you make? How can you understand the swing of a bat? How can you understand the swing of a tennis racket? How can you understand that Shubman Gill is playing the right cover drive or Ajinkya Rahane is playing the right cover drive or Virat Kohli is playing the right cover drive? It's through IoT, through a sensor device, and you predict and project what is the baseline. See, in sports, it's a very gray area. Everybody's technique is different from one another. Tiger Woods' technique was completely different from what others had. Ronaldo's technique is completely different. So you cannot have AI in sports, especially predicting technique or guiding technique. You can use AI and device learning data, overall CDP data, customer data platform, infusing data to AI algorithms to understand a sports guy's mindset or a set of techniques, but don't put guidance on technique. You can't have Virat Kohli bat like Rohit Sharma. You cannot have Ronaldo and Messi's dribble exactly the same. You cannot have Djokovic and Nadal having a similar swing. It cannot happen in sports. Sports is all about technique. You can give the guy or the coach or the family data of how it should become. That AI can help and figure out how you use physical devices of IoT using sensors, taking abstraction data and feed it into your AI algos. It's a topic I can go on and on and on for hours, but let me stop there.
Okay, so next question, Souvik. You create technology, it goes out of hand, and then you create regulations. Can we adopt, think proactive and anticipate regulations? Regulations are inevitable as no one stays ethical for life. This is from Anurag Joshi.
Fabulous question, personally, Anurag. See, Anurag, we as human beings always invent. See, JC Bose is behind me. He invented the 5G, not Marconi. He'll get his due, Nobel. If you Google, you'll know. There was no regulation on radio frequency when they invented it. but radio frequency was used to disrupt wars. Radio frequency then was used to use internet. Now, if radio frequency is now used to disrupt my satellite phone chatter across the borders where our foot soldiers are holding the fort, I will put regulation. There's no qualms about it. If hackers will break my radio frequency in a telecom tower in South Mumbai, I will put regulation. If marketeers overuse, I will put regulation. We'll keep on inventing. We will keep on getting it to the end human being to use it. But when they overabuse it, we will put regulation. That's just the way human civilization and society has operated. You invent, you execute, you make them adopt. Then if it's abused, we put regulation. Regulation comes to put guardrails. And there will be people who will break it and invent something more.
Souvik, I will take the last question. There are quite a few more, but I'll take one last question. Even though artificial intelligence has come a long way, how does one solve AI's bias problem? This is from Rahul Talwar.
Well, fabulous question. Bias is, AI is nothing without data. I can't make a single AI algorithm work without data. If the problem is, if an AI algorithm was deployed any use case, it will have a cold start problem. If anybody in the world says to you guys that AI will work from day one, ask them to take a walk on that roundabout, turn around and take the taxi back home. AI has to learn to adapt with training data sets, pure AI. Rule-based AI is not AI. That's semantic networks. That's not neural networks. ANN is pure AI, purist AI. If say people say that I have 10 rules and I want the data to come out in this way, that's rubbish AI. That's gibberish AI. That's hogwash. AI needs data. AI needs to understand and get trained on data. Doesn't happen in 24 hours, doesn't happen in 7 days, takes months to get accuracy of an AI algorithm. Whoever is giving you outside this, say that, is this AI or based on a decision tree semantic networks? If it's based on a decision tree, it's not pure AI. It's a very simple problem. If anybody sells rubbish to you guys, you can defend it, taking my thought. The beauty is bias happens when you are hyper-personalizing things using AI. AI is a hybrid. You can sense AI and let it learn, let it predict, let it recommend, let it be projective based on the objective AI wants to be used for. The objective is a human objective. Objective is AI can't decide an objective of its own. It's not smart enough. If it's a human objective or an industry objective or a business objective, that's easier to get to. Then you can navigate the AI. I'll hold my thought on that, but I can go on and on the bias part.
So Rahil, I hope that answers your question. And Souvik, with that, we come to the end of the second session. And now there's a very interesting session lined up, Souvik. So what we do in the last section it's called the Little Discoveries round. Okay. So here we are going to get to know a little more about you. And I'm going to ask you 10 rapid fire questions. Okay. In these, you can give a one-word answer, you can give a one-sentence answer, but don't say I don't know or I don't know comment. So I know you won't give those kind of answers, but these are 10 things to know you a little better. So are you ready? Then I'll start with my first one. So here goes the first one. Working in India or in Europe, given a chance, where would you go and why?
I'll go to the Northeast or the Himalayas and operate out of there as long as I've got a 100 MB broadband. I'll not operate out of anywhere in the world, India.
Okay,
mountains, more from the mountains.
More from the mountains. Okay, second question. Where was your most tense moment? In the cricket field or in the boardroom?
Boardrooms and demos and cricket. finals of a Premier League. Couldn't sleep. And I can't sleep still before key presentations, key games, even if it's a friendly game. I can't sleep well. It's nervous energy, butterflies in the stomach, but it goes away. I mean, it's good anxiety to have.
What is your success mantra?
Work hard every day, delivery excellence. Idea cannot be done without the excellence of how great you deliver it. Delivery excellence overrides the idea.
Fourth question, what is the lesson that you have learned from your biggest failure?
Don't repeat mistakes in regular occurrences. You'll become better at it. Learn from it immediately. Never ever, if you think some mistakes you cannot ever replicate, never ever make it again.
So make unique mistakes from where you can learn.
Make mistakes, but never ever repeat them. The ability to not repeat them makes you successful more and more. The lessons learned part of mistakes is critical.
What advice would you give to parents who feel that their kids are getting badly addicted to the screen or technology? That it's okay or enough is enough?
You can't take the screen away from the little ones in the future of tomorrow we have. Don't ration it. Take their mind space to do something more, which is physical activities. They need to run around for the blood to grow into their brains, to work. Screens are going to be part of their life till they are 80-year-olds. You cannot take the iPad and the phone away from them, but make them run around so that when they look at their screen and do school or watch whatever or play any games, they're productive at it. Do not ration screens, but make them play sports, because sports always will keep them excited. Don't be scared of COVID. Make them play. Put on a mask, take their masks off, throw them in the ground. Make them play any sport.
Okay. Souvik, you are a tech guru to so many people. Who is your tech guru?
My tech guru I don't have. My admirers I have. And I don't have idols, because idols make you bend towards one point of thinking. Again, some of them are behind me. J.C. Bose. Da Vinci is an unbelievable human being. He could crack maths, he could paint, and he could sculpt. Phenomenal human being. Tech-wise, I think the beauty is Bill Gates invested in Apple. The DOS was used by both Mac and OS. Both of them were the basis of friends. And when he was on his deathbed, they had a 3-hour conversation when Bill Gates came and spent with Steve, and they had discussed why the future of education technology will solve. Those two will remain. Jack Ma is, again, a great admirer of Jack Ma. School English teacher creates the biggest ecosystem in one of the biggest countries of the world, is one. Not a tech guru, but an orator guru is Barack Obama. How he spoke, and I am an admirer of his brain. Audacity of Hope, Memoirs of Mind, unbelievable thoughts on those 2 books. Everybody should read them. So I don't have tech gurus, I've got tech admirers and great leaders.
Question number 7, is Elon Musk an overrated techie?
He's an underrated techie. Because the guy built PayPal, put every penny to build SpaceX, went bankrupt, created Tesla, and learning to build a rocket via YouTube. Can you imagine the inventor in his head? Can you imagine Gigafactory, Hyperloop? The man is arguably the greatest inventor of our century. One hand, he's built PayPal, which is a payment platform in a .com era. Then he goes on to build SpaceX. Then he goes on to build Gigafactory, Hyperloop. And now he is thinking of the next generation of putting colonization in Mars. I mean, the man is arguably the biggest techie in the planet.
3 things that are always on your to-do list.
Constantly communicate with your team. 2, read at least 3,000 words on your phone or your iPad or watch something for at least 2 to 3 hours. And number 3 is figure out how the kids of today, especially my kids, or how the family is evolving in this technology area. Figure out how the kids of all my friends, figure out how the world of tomorrow, which is going to get built by the little ones of today, how they think, and they think completely differently.
True.
They're my focus group.
Question number 9. If you could be in any movie, what would it be and what character would you play?
If I could be in a movie, what I'll play Gandalf. I'll play Gandalf and I'll solve wars and I'll give prudence and I'll be a great communicator. Yeah, Gandalf is a phenomenal guy. Gandalf can solve everything from Frodo's problems to Gollum's issues.
In fact, so a little snippet for viewers. So let me tell you all that Souvik is also a part-time filmmaker. And Souvik, there was a movie that went on to be in one of the festivals, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Couple of them that went there, right? So, so he is a very talented filmmaker as well. And you scared the hell out of me with that 5-minute horror movie clip that you sent me, which I will post on this channel at some point in time. People need to watch that as well. Now, coming to my last question, what is that little bit of extra work that has a huge upside for you in the personal or professional front?
Writing. Because you see, I have been a .com techie before the .com actually became a .com and an app internet ecosystem. There's a lot of things I have to document for the next generation. What are the do's and don'ts? What are the mistakes you should just generally avoid in the .com and the internet ecosystem space? I have to write more and more.
So are you writing anything right now, Souvik?
I am, and I'll leave that surprise for a later conversation.
Okay, lovely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to the end of our talk today. It was an absolute delight talking to my dear friend Souvik. Souvik, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you with us.
No, Abhik, I must say it was this school of thought, if only a few more people had. You yourself are very cerebral. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Souvik. Hope to see you soon.
Yes, and everybody stay safe. And Abhik, all of you stay safe. Look after yourselves and keep thinking.
Thank you, Souvik. Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking to Sauvik Banerjjee, technologist, evangelist, entrepreneur, enterprise architect, cricketer, and a good friend. Thank you for watching today's session, which is brought to you by Outdoor Wilderness Learning, which is a learning platform for eminent speakers and trainers and facilitators. Stay tuned for more such meaningful sessions every week. We're going to bring wonderful speakers to you, and we will let you know when those sessions will be. So stay safe, everybody. Until the next episode, it's goodbye from Abhik.